welcome back to Casually Caffeinated. We're getting great feedback, so thank you, everybody. And today we're going to talk about compensation philosophy. But before we dig into that, Katherine, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm enjoying a very, very quiet house today for the first time in quite a while. But at the same time, I don't entirely know what to do with all the silence. It's like the first time in like 3 months. I feel like it's been totally quiet over here.
I don't know if I'd want to be left with my own thoughts. That could be dangerous. How am I? Well, I think you know how I am because I called you. I was attacked by a hawk in my driveway. So I was taking the trash out, as one does, and I had a raptor. And if Jurassic Park has taught us anything, it's that the descendants of dinosaurs are birds. So essentially, I was attacked by a dinosaur in my driveway, or a raptor. Taking the trash out, and if it had gotten, of course I had a bun on my head. If it had gotten the bun, I would be scalped. They are very powerful animals. I did Google hawk attacks because I thought, am I the only person that this happened to? Because I've never heard of it before. And of course, Katherine, I called you literally in hysterics. And because I needed you to check to make sure that there wasn't any dead animal from the talons of the hawk in my hair. It would add a whole new level to COVID hair, but I was terrified. And I was laughing hysterically, as one does when they're terrified, because that makes sense. And you very, that's my dog that just hit the thing, very rationally told me to call my doctor to see. And so I did get to call the doctor. I did get to talk to the nurse and say, good news, this is not COVID related. I was attacked by a hawk.
Were they like a
That's how I am. She goes, I'm sorry, ma'am, what did you say? So yes, I belong in corporate America because I was attacked by a dinosaur. So that's been my experience of late, if that tells you anything.
Well, when you called me, it was, like, I feel like the first nice day in a long time, and you were just, walking outside, but the second you did, it was like, so, I don't know, I laugh now because I know that you're totally fine, but when you called me, I was like, say what? And every time I think about it, again, now that I know you're totally fine, it's funny. It's funny.
Well, I come from Greenfield, Indiana. I grew up between two cornfields. But the good news is hawks are federally protected. I don't know if you're aware of that, but they're federally protected and they're not afraid of humans when it comes to protecting their nest. So on that note, let's do compensation philosophy. Let's start with, what the heck is it?
So I think compensation philosophy is one of the terms that sometimes can make people's eyes glaze over when I hear, because they're like, what is it? So simply put, compensation philosophy is really the kind of backbone statement or idea of our company pays this way because X, Y, and Z. So it's really the why behind how you pay. And by pay, I mean whether that's base salaries or your stance on incentive compensation or any type of other compensation programs you might have in place. They should all reflect back to your compensation philosophy.
So I've never worked for a company with a documented compensation philosophy. So how do you even start to get executive buy-in on a compensation philosophy?
Sure. Well, I think that it's important for executives and really any type of leadership to acknowledge that these compensation conversations are happening more and more amongst employees, whether that's they're doing their own research or they're talking to their colleagues. So the sooner that leadership can accept that, the better. And because that will naturally make your compensation philosophy or the creation of one, if you don't already have one, a higher priority. It's not only a way to help manage those conversations, but also to streamline what employees, true perspective and true understanding is of where your company stands with compensation, or what they believe in. And that matters not only to when you're recruiting, what you as maybe a recruiter can tell your candidates, but also to long-term employees too, so they understand here's how I'm paid, and here's why I'm paid that way, and here's potential ways that could change, whether it's through a promotion, or here's what I would need to do to get that promotion. But it's important for leadership to understand that compensation philosophy will really help provide a framework around those future conversations about compensation, or even the ones that are already happening that you might just not be aware of.
So what I would imagine is a lot of companies have them, they're just not documented. But can you give me not even like the 50,000 foot view, but like the satellite view of the basic foundations of a compensation philosophy? So is it tenure, is it experience? What does that look like?
Sure. So I think that the different things, like such as, in determining someone's base compensation, we value their previous experience, or we value how many years they've been with our company, or if you manage X amount of people, then you're eligible for X, Y, Z. I think that is a sub-layer of an overarching compensation philosophy. So when I think of a satellite view, I think of our company, Catherine's company, values experience of we believe in fair and equitable pay amongst our employees, and here's how we measure that, X, Y, Z, whether that's a combination of experience, your previous experience, your time with the company, and then further into those programs, such as if you automatically have increases or some type of reward for your 5-year employees, 10-year employees, whether that's through a base pay increase, or if that's more commonly through a PTO day rewarding. So your compensation philosophy really should be an overarching statement of what you value, what you believe, and what you promote through compensation.
So this is really interesting, especially from the fair and equitable pay, because we all know, if you've been in HR for more than 5 minutes, right, guys, that you have managers that will come in and say, this candidate wants X, which is way out of the range of what we would normally ever pay, or this employee wants Y to stay. And so I would imagine that the compensation philosophy helps HR, helps leadership manage those conversations.
Absolutely. Those situations, I know that we in HR have all experienced them. The compensation philosophy, leaning back to that, is a way to help have those situations where you have to bring someone over the range. It helps make those more of an exception rather than the norm. And it helps explain to whether it's the hiring manager or the recruiter or even the candidate of, hey, here is what we practice, and here's where we might be able to meet you in the middle, but here's why we can't go all the way, because this is what we believe, this is what we practice, and this is the talk that we walk, if that makes sense.
I love that, because I think that's going to lead into our next recording, that we discuss how we teach managers to talk about compensation and how we teach employees to think of their compensation. So I'm really excited for that one that's coming up next. But this was really great for me as somebody that doesn't know anything about compensation, has never kind of peeked behind the curtain, to hear you say it shouldn't be behind the curtain. the wizard should be out in front of everybody, essentially.
Yes, it definitely happens on the transparency with it definitely happens over a spectrum, but your compensation philosophy is a great thing to make 100% transparent and then have your programs build off of it.
Well, great. Thank you so much, Katherine.
Thank you.